Hi, and welcome to another Odd Job Motors test report. Sorry I'm a little under the weather today. It's a cold winter day, but I came across something that was kind of exciting, and so I just couldn't wait to get out and show folks this. Not the Elgin 2 horsepower here, though. These are actually a favorite motor of mine, but most people in the Antique Outboard Club really don't give a second look to them. But interestingly enough, they had a major impact on outboard motors. They started out life, as most people know, in 1952, sold through Sears and Roebuck, and they went on in various guises. In the early 60s, about 1962, they were up to 3.5 horsepower, and then Chrysler bought out West Bend, and they came out with a version that was 3.6 horsepower that had a fiberglass hood that was sold well up into the 1970s. When they were originally sold, under the Elgin name, and then West Bend and Wizard and J.C. Penney. There were quite a few different companies that sold them. They were a 3.76 cubic inch air-cooled motor, and for what they were, they really are a darn fine little motor. They're very light, and for a single, they're relatively smooth and relatively quiet. And like I said, they're a favorite of mine. In 1954, Clinton came out with a motor that was suspiciously similar to the Elgin 2 horsepower, known as the Chief Model 24 and the Clinton Model 25. They were actually 2.5 horsepower motor, and they were 4.49 cubic inches, so a little bit more cubic inches, a little bit more horsepower, but very, very similar in terms of the layout of the motor, air cooling. The lower unit was suspiciously similar to the Elgin. Try and get both of these in the shot here. You can see them. Very, very similar, even green like the Elgins were. But what's really interesting is, in the 1960s, Yamaha, who today, of course, is a major player in the outboard motor market, they also copied the Elgin. Yamaha started building outboards in 1960, and they had a 7.5 horsepower model called the P7, and unfortunately was not very successful. And in 1961 they came out with a model P3. Now, I don't know if you can see this here, but if you're familiar at all with the 2 horsepower Elgins, the transom bracket here and the leg, and then in the bottom on the lower unit, there's that little tube that forces water up to keep the exhaust housing here from getting too hot. And this air-cooled elbow here for the exhaust. And then actually, while the tank here is styled differently and obviously has a Japanese flavor to it, the mounts underneath here with that, there's a piece of cork vibration isolator, and that's exactly the same as on the Elgins. Yamaha here has a fuel valve here in the back. It's actually got a reserve position, which is kind of interesting. And one big difference between the Elgin and the Yamaha is the Elgin is, of course, a cross-flow motor and is a reed valve, and the Yamaha here is actually a loop charge motor and is a rotary valve using the bottom of the crankcase as the rotary valve. Other controls on this is it's got a throttle similar to a British Seagull. It's got a little stop button here in the front. It's got the largest gas cap and fuel fill, and then it's got this neat little sort of felt filter in there to help keep water and debris from getting in your gas. As I said, Yamaha started selling outboards in the USA in 1967 and 68. And there's actually a Popular Science July 1968 said something to the effect of Japan is selling outboards in the United States. From that article, I was able to glean that this motor is 3.5 horsepower at 4,500 RPMs, and it's 3.84 cubic inches, so it's pretty darn similar to the Elgin. In 1968, it had a retail price of $146.95. I have AOMCI members Gary Maurer, who spotted this on Craigslist, and Doug Penn to thank for, Doug was able to pick this up for me. It was a bit far away for me to get that day. And Wayne Shopke out in Wisconsin sent me the parts manual for it, so great to have the AOMCI network on that. Now I just got it running today, so I'm going to try and give it a quick start here so you can hear it, see what happens. It's got a choke here, motorcycle style slide carburetor, and let's see if we can get her to go. A little cold out today, so she's being a little reluctant. I think when it warms up it'll run a little better. It's also missing, there's supposed to be a rubber cover that goes over the carburetor here, actually up to an air filter. Apparently Yamaha used fishermen in Japan to test these motors out when they were new. And there's actually some interesting video footage on YouTube that you can scrounge around for looking under P3, which was the original Japanese designation of this motor. So anyway, that's the Yamaha P-35. Hopefully when things warm up, we'll take it out on the water and try it out there and see how it compares with the Elgin. So that's it for today's Odd Job Motors test report. Hopefully we'll see you out on the water when it warms up.